Hello, I'm Christina from The Turned Leg. I love to salvage, repurpose, and create and help others to do the same. And recently I got a comment from one of you and it just really spoke to my heart. They said they have a booth and they're pretty much just breaking even, and that there was only 1 month where they really saw profits and they weren't sure what they could do. So I'm gonna share a few tips and tricks that I also shared with them, and I hope it will help some of you. This is the hardest job I have ever done, but I love it so much that I'm constantly looking for ways to do better and increase my profits. So I hope it will help you. The first thing they did mention is they're analyzing their numbers, and that is really important if you're not doing that. Now, what do I mean exactly? Every month, you're gonna get a printout, probably from your booth, whether it's emailed to you or it's a hard copy of all of your sales. You should be looking over that. You should also be looking over your bank statements, showing what you are making and what is going out, what is coming in, all of your expenses. You also want to print out some sort of profit and loss report, keeping track of money coming in and money going out. And while you're doing that, you can analyze certain categories and certain areas. I do something like this monthly, and it really helps me. I also have a free online app that I use to assist. It's hooked up to my bank account, so I can just go on there and automatically print the report. I get no money for promoting them, but I love it and it's free and it helps my business a lot, so maybe it can help some of you. The benefits of doing this monthly is that you can look back every year, because there are some months that are just not gonna have good sales. And if you're in one of those months and you've forgotten, you look back from last year and you're like, oh yeah, I remember, I didn't do so hot this year. That way you don't have to stress. It gives you a good record of how you're doing year after year. Once you've reviewed your monthly expenses and profits, you might need to analyze your budget for spending, for supplies and new items. I know so many of us see people that go out in huge thrift hauls, and I'm seriously wondering how they're affording all of their items. How do they pay for that stuff and still get a profit? If you've looked at any of my recent thrift haul videos, and I'll pop one in here if you haven't seen them before, I really don't buy too much. I'm really trying to buy items that are going to sell, that I'm getting at great prices. Sure, I could buy more and have a beautiful thrift haul to show you, but I have to be realistic for my business. So maybe you need to have a heart to heart. Maybe you love to shop and there's nothing wrong with it, but set yourself a budget and make sure to really keep in mind the things you need for your store. The other question you have to ask yourself is, do people know you exist? Just because you have an antique booth at a mall doesn't mean people know you are there. And I talked about this a lot in my social media video, and I'll put a link here for you to check it out. Even though the antique mall you're in is probably doing some sort of publicity, it's really important for you to also do some free work on your end, and it's not as hard as you might think. The other thing you're probably going to discover when you look into social media is there's lots of other streams of income, other ways you can earn money for your business. So when the sales at the mall are not so hot, they will balance out. And I talk about that in the social media video too. So if you haven't watched it, check it out. Another thing I always like to do when my sales are slow is think about display. When was the last time you changed things up? If you've done a booth reset or a portion of your booth reset recently, then that's not the issue. But if you haven't, it's a really good time. I'm telling you, move a few things around. You're gonna be amazed how things will sell. I was once redoing my booth, and I was also working as a cashier at the front desk, and I was making you a video of how I redo my booth. And in the process, the big focal point I kept setting up in the center of the display kept selling. Now, I'm not complaining, but it's because it was somewhere new. People hadn't seen it. These were items that were already in my booth. I moved them to a new location. So try that to increase sales too. Are you enjoying this video? If so, take a second, you know what to do, click the like button and subscribe. Also, if you click the bell, you'll be notified every time I upload a new video. Really helps me to continue to grow my channel to help others to salvage, repurpose, and create. When sales are slow, it's really important to talk to others in your area or in your antique mall. If you haven't made some friends with the other dealers, you need to. Normally there's some sort of a gathering place in every antique mall, and you need to kind of hang out there and get to know people. You don't need to necessarily ask about all the dirty details of costs and expenses, but you can kind of find out how they're doing. Most dealers will tell you if they're having an okay month or not, and that at least will give you a little bit of an inside information to how you're doing compared to everyone else. Also, talk to the cashiers. They are the ones that see everything that's selling, and they can also tell you which booth numbers they're typing in a lot more often. Once you know what's selling, now you have to ask yourself, do you have it? Your booth, does it stand out? Are you a little bit different, or is everyone in the mall selling the same stuff that you are selling? That can be a problem. In my mall, there are at least 3 other people who paint furniture. So I constantly have to kind of keep that in mind with my sales. Luckily, I think overall I have a little bit brighter colors and I have a slightly different style, so that makes me stand out. But if there's competition in your area, that's going to affect your sales. And that's something else to think about. Do you have something that is really your thing? Maybe you do vintage kitchen. Maybe you sell painted furniture. Do you have something that people know, oh, I like to go to that booth because they always have this? If not, maybe try to hone in your skills in your booth. Maybe try to do a booth reset where you really focus on one thing. Maybe it's something you love anyways, and that might help you to get some more attention to your booth, and people will know, oh yeah, vintage kitchen, I know exactly where to find those items. It really might help. I once turned one small booth completely into a vintage kitchen booth. Maybe you want to do something like that for yourself. Think about it. Think about what you like, what you already have a lot of items for. I'm not trying to get you to spend more money here. We're trying to make more money. Find your niche. Make sure you are standing out in your antique mall for all the right reasons. Now, this tip I think is one of the most important tips that I can share with you, and that is to be a secret shopper. You need to go to your antique mall during its busiest time, but while you are there, you need to walk around and pay close attention to the customers. You need to watch their traffic patterns. You need to listen to what they're saying about the mall, not only in your booth, but in others. Find out what they're saying about some of the booths. What are those positive comments? Oh, I like how well lit this booth is. I can really find things easily. When you hear those comments, analyze your own booth. Okay, do I do this? If I don't do this, how can I fix it? Being a secret shopper is going to help you so much. You're going to see where they're going, what they're buying, you're going to hear what they're saying, and then that can help you with your booth. I also recommend being a secret shopper and hang out in your booth or the booth next to you if you can kind of still hear people and hear what they're saying. Please make sure you're keeping your emotions in check. You might hear things you're not expecting. When I was doing this in my booth, I heard somebody say that they felt my taste was very gaudy and over the top and that they would never have a home like this. Well, that's my style, and I understand that it's not right for everyone. Not everybody likes all the colors I use, and I'm fine with that because I've also heard a lot of really positive comments in my booth too, but be prepared to hear the good and the bad. Also, while you're walking around as a secret shopper, pay close attention to pricing. Go to other people's booths. What are they selling items for that you have similar in your booth? Are you the highest priced? If so, maybe that's why you're not getting the sales that you had planned. You also don't want to be rock bottom garage sale prices. because you're not going to make a profit. And you're also going to anger a lot of the dealers in your mall that are trying to actually get a profit and have a good business. Remember, prices in your area are very different than what you're going to find online if you're pricing your items that way. For more information on pricing, you can click on the link to this video. It might help you out some. Final thing on the secret shopper is look at your booth as a customer. Now, I have to admit, if you're not good at this, if you're really kind of sick at looking at your booth, you might want to bring a friend who hasn't been there in a while to shop and say, hey, give me your honest opinion. I did this recently. I brought my mom into my booth and she pointed out a traffic flow problem to my booth. Things were not getting seen. I was looking at the booth from a totally different angle, and we realized if we rotated a cabinet just a little bit, it would get a lot more views by my customers as they were approaching my booth, and it would help them shop more. Sometimes it's really that simple. Hopefully now you have a few ideas of what you can do in your booth to get more profit, but can you make even more money? You got to get a little creative here. One thing you really should analyze, and I'm guilty of this myself, is do you have inventory at home that needs to come to the mall? If so, you need to get it in. Remember, smalls make the rent. The more items that you can put into your booth without it getting overly junky, the more chance you have to make a sale and to make more profit. It's really important to get creative here and get that extra inventory that's sitting at home into your booth. It's not going to make you any money there. The other thing you can do to make more money is really think outside of the box. Okay, my thing is salvage. It might not be yours, so you're gonna have to get creative here and really think about possibilities. But I love salvage, and I'm always looking for curbside treasures and things that I can make pretty again. And a lot of times those curbside treasures, I can't save the whole piece. But I've learned over the years that I can salvage the hardware and the parts, and I can actually make good money off of those pieces in my booth. But that's what my booth is known for, and that's how I can be successful at it. But that is free. All of those items are free. I can make a profit. I can resell it. It's pretty funny sometimes when I find furniture curbside because the parts alone can make me more money than the piece itself. So get creative, think out of the box. How can you make profit maybe without spending anything at all? The last part we're going to talk about is you need to get real. And this is probably the hardest part for you to hear. Remember, being a booth owner is not an easy job. I know some people have this glamorous idea that we just go to thrift stores and we throw things in our booth and we're making a ton of money. And the only way you can make money is if you're working for it and you're hustling. It really does take a lot of effort on your part. And if that's what you're doing, you're working hard, then congratulations to yourself. Give yourself like a round of applause, a pat on the back. I'm so proud of you because it's not an easy business. One thing you might want to think about is, do you need a new location? Now, I'm not necessarily talking about a mall, like changing to another location that way, although maybe it's something to consider. Maybe there's an opportunity you haven't even thought about. Have you explored the other malls and what they offer? Maybe your style, there aren't as many vendors in another mall, and you might get more traffic because you'd be considered special. Maybe it's closer. Maybe travel time is less. That's going to save you more money too. The other thing is maybe you need a new location in the mall. There are some primo locations, although I do really strongly feel that once you become established, your customers will find you wherever you are. But there are some better locations, and maybe if a booth becomes available, you could ask about moving to a new location, or maybe it's a location that's going to have more or less walls that'll work better for you. If you remember, I moved from booths with walls to booths with hardly any walls, and it's not ideal for me, but I had a larger location, which I really wanted. So think about location. Finally, we have to talk about something that makes me a little bit uneasy, and that is, do you really still love this business when you're in it? I know in the business of having a booth at my antique mall, we see a lot of dealers kind of come and go, but there are a portion of dealers that stick through and they're very, very successful. But that's because They truly, truly love it. If this is not your thing, maybe there's other things. Maybe you could do pop-up markets. Maybe you could sell online. Some of those things might suit you better. I have friends that have completely ditched their booths to sell online. YouTube or Facebook live sales or something like that. You have to do what works for you. I don't want you to think that because you just don't love being in a booth, that that's not your thing and you're a failure. There's lots of other opportunities that perhaps you can explore, but you need to get real. Also, is this a hobby or a business? If this is a hobby, you're breaking even, you're finding joy, go for it. Do what makes you happy. I hope this has helped you with a bunch of information about how to find ways to make more money for your booth. Comment down below if I left anything out. I know there's a lot of people that watch this channel that have had booths very successfully for a long time, and you might have some more good ideas for others. Also, if you have questions, let me know, but I do want to tell you, I have an entire playlist for booth owners on this page. Make sure to check that out too for more tips and tricks. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate all of you so much. Now get out there to salvage, repurpose, and create, and good luck with your booths.